Hey y'all, I want to give you a little exercise today that I hope you'll participate in. It's summer after all. Let's have a little fun. I want to encourage you to look up. And now as you're looking up, try and look back. It's impossible, isn't it? And in that anatomical impossibility is a spiritual reality and truth that if we will wrap our hearts and brains around right now, can really encourage us in these difficult days. When we are focused on the Lord, when we are looking up, we avoid the trap of longing for the life that we once had. There may be no greater example of this in the Bible than Lot's wife. You're probably familiar with her. We come to the story of Lot and his family in Genesis 19. Now, Lot and his family lived in an area called Sodom and Gomorrah. The Lord had determined to destroy those cities because of their disobedience. But two angels came to Lot and his family and told them they had the opportunity to escape before the destruction began. When morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away in the punishment of the city." But he hesitated. So the men seized his hand, and the hand of his wife, and the hands of his 2 daughters, for the compassion of the Lord was upon him. And they brought him out and put him outside the city. And when they had brought him outside the city, one said, "Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, and do not stay anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away." Now Lot negotiated to escape to a city called Zoar, which was just outside of the destruction zone. The sun had risen over the earth when Lot came to Zoar. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities, and all the valley, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground. But his wife, from behind him, looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. It would seem that Lot's wife had lingered behind him, hadn't yet gotten to the safe city of Zoar, and was seemingly longing, looking back and longing for the life that she loved and wanted, rather than the life that was ahead of her. Now, some may call this a fairy tale because of just the supernaturalness of the story, but here's the truth. Josephus, who is a Jewish historian, and 2 early church fathers, Irenaeus and Clement of Rome, all 3 of them claim to have seen the pillar of salt that was once Lot's wife. We don't really know what happened to her. Some say that maybe it was the plume of smoke and fire and sulfur that turned her into salt. But what we really want to focus on here is why that happened to her, and that was because she was longingly looking back on the life that she loved, rather than embracing the salvation that the Lord had for her in the present and ahead of her. In the past few months, we have in this country and really throughout the world seen radical change to our lives. And if you're like me, you have said along the way, "I just wish we could go back to the way things were." In fact, over the past 8.5 years, I've said that a lot. 8.5 years ago, my life was dismantled under the watchful, loving, sovereign eye of the Lord. I loved the life I had, and I have often said, "Lord, I just want to live the life that I loved." But the truth is that that's a trap. And when I say that, I risk losing out on what He has for me right now and in the future. When we long for the life that we had in this world, we, at the very best, impact our relationship with the Lord, losing confidence in Him and intimacy with Him. And at worst, we miss out on what He has for us now and what He's delivering us into. Paul writes to the Colossians in his letter, starting in chapter 3, "Therefore, if you have been raised up with Christ, keep seeking the things above, where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on the things above, not on the things that are on this earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is our life, is revealed, then you also will be revealed with Him in glory." When Christ, who is our life. Y'all, our life isn't in the things of the world. It is in the glory of God and His loving Son, Jesus Christ, who died for us so that we could eternally live with Him. So if you're longing for things from the past, let me encourage you again, encourage all of us, look up, because when we are looking up and focused on the Lord, we cannot fall into that trap of looking back and longing for what we once had, which is certainly less, far less than anything and everything the Lord has promised for us. Something to chew on this week. Thanks for joining us in the deep end and in this beautiful park on a beautiful summer day. I look forward to seeing you next week.